Hey guys, welcome to this video. This time I thought I'd take you through the process I used to make this image. I made it this summer and I received quite a bit of questions on how I approached it. I was originally inspired by a video on YouTube about this exhibition that Veta Workshop did in New Zealand about the First World War, and they did these huge sculptures, like larger than life sculptures of the soldiers. You should definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. The amount of detail they put in those huge sculptures is quite unbelievable. But anyway, let's get into the image. I didn't really have a sketch when I started doing this. I had originally built this character. This is the same character, just moved the gear around a bit for a different image that I never got around to finishing. That happens to me quite often. I start making assets for some image and then turns out that that image doesn't work. But as those assets are in 3D, as you will see, I can often reuse those in a different context. So let's get into the 3D here. So here we are in Blender, which is my software of choice. It's super awesome. If you haven't tried it, you definitely should. I think all concept artists should learn Blender at this point, or any other 3D package. It doesn't really matter. But Blender is awesome and it's free. So here's the scene. It's super simple. It's just the water plane, a cube, and then the two of the characters. And then let's click on the rendering. I'm rendering Octane, by the way, which is also free for Blender if you're just using one GPU as I am. Let's just let it render here a bit. So it's super simple, as you can see. It's just a water plane, and then I used more planes that I made a custom leaf texture for. You can take a look at one here. It just has, it's basically a plane, and then it has an opacity map driving the alpha, so you can obviously see through the plane. I made a couple of those variations and scattered them around. It took me quite a while to scatter them around in such a way that it looks visually pleasing. These planes here I added later on. When I was in Photoshop, I noticed that it looks weird. The characters are not interacting with the water at all. So I just added these planes and made a quick black and white image of ripples on water, and that's just simply driving the bump map of the water material. And this water shader, actually can't remember even how I did it. Oh yeah, it's just a simple specular material with a bump map, nothing fancy, but it works surprisingly well. Let's click off this fog cube to make things run a bit smoother. So yeah, these characters are the exact same, and they basically work from just one angle. As you can see, I didn't bother to pose them correctly from the front. I'm not exactly a great character modeler, but I can usually get enough done that I can use them in my images. The texture is often, well, not the most important, but the really important part in selling the realism, so I spend a bit more time on the texturing. In this case, it was super simple. I just projected the UVs thing from the back and painted a texture in Photoshop. You can show the character model. I usually make my characters in 3D code because I find it honestly just more fun to use than ZBrush. I used to use ZBrush back in the day, but these days, whenever I'm doing something organic, I use 3D code. As you can see, the model is, there we go. Model is pretty simple. It's just, this is clipping through here and everything is kind of messed up, but when looking at it from the right direction, it kind of works. And these branch assets I used are from Megascans, if I remember correctly. Might be from somewhere else. And this rifle is from CG Trader. I think it was a free model that I just found, luckily, so I didn't have to spend time to model it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the 3D. I really love using Octane and Blender together. It's just so easy to make decent looking things quickly. This is the process I use for all of my stuff at work as well. I try to make as much in 3D as quickly as I can to get the most bang for buck out of that, and then do the rest in Photoshop. So let's get into the Photoshop. So here we go. Here is the final render, if I remember correctly. So you can see everything is, all the elements are pretty much there, but it still looks like 3D. I don't know how to describe it better. That's what we want to get rid of in Photoshop, and it's pretty easy. It just takes a little while. So here's the final image. We compare these two. I just basically went in and started painting over these 3D bits here to make them look more painterly and more real, and so that the characters would look different from each other and not look exactly like each other. And then I replaced the face of the dude underneath the water because it looks super convincing, and overall did a color grading pass and painted over a bunch of these details, softened them up and added some atmosphere, and just trying to make it look less like 3D. I'm not exactly going for photorealism either, but something between. I do like the realism that 3D provides, and adding some painterliness on top of that often is the right mix of elements I like. I did use some photo passing here for the character, just because I didn't have the patience to go in and model all of those straps and belts and buckles and everything for the character. I probably, if I'm gonna use this character again, I'll probably do that. But for this image, I just wanted to make the barest minimum I could and then get the image done. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.